How many parents we have here today? Just put up your hand. There are two types of parents, right? I'm going to give you the two types, right? I went from being the first type to the second type. But here's what the first type of parent does, right? Both are loving, both are strong in their love. But check this out. So I say to my daughter, honey, it's time to go to bed. Go to sleep, right? She said, Daddy, why do I have to go to sleep? I said, well, because all of the pretty girls are asleep right now. Well, why are all the pretty girls asleep right now? Because they have to get their beauty sleep. Well, why do I have to get my beauty sleep? Because you have to wake up early in the morning and go to school. Why do I have to go to school? Well, you have to go to school to learn. Well, because you want to be smart. And when you go to school, you become smart. Why do I have to be smart? Well, you have to be smart because you need to get into a good prep school. A good high school. Why? Well, you need to go to a good high school because I want you to get a scholarship and go on to college, right? Why do I need to go? Well, because I want you to graduate from college and I want you to get a good job. Well, baby, because if you get a good job, then you can have a lot of money. Right? Well, you need a lot of money because so that you can buy yourself a nice house. So that you can have somewhere that you can go to sleep. Yeah, but then, Jesus. Again, that's the way I used to be. Now it's, baby, it's time for you to go to bed. Go to sleep. Because daddy, I don't know. I mean, at one point in time, I was the answer why. After a while, it just came down to because daddy says so. And when that don't work, I said because God says so. And then you need to understand that the question why is very powerful, right? The answer to the question why brings understanding that could be the difference between us moving forward or not. It's very interesting that a lot of you as adults today have been asking the question why. You've been nagging God, like this side of the room did, with the why God, why me, why not you, why? You've been asking God a lot of why questions. You want some understanding. Why should we slay a giant? 2 Samuel 23, verse 20. Let's read that together. There was also Benaiah, son of Jehoiada. Now, also meaning there were some other people. Let me just explain who was there, right? David had with him what was called David's mighty men, okay? And he had 30 mighty warriors. These were the head gone, bad man them, the warriors, the fighters, those that were the best at fighting that he kept around him. You understand? Delta Force, Secret Service, Green Beret, all of them, right? Now, he kept 30 of these guys around him, but there was also 3 of them that were a little extra mad. Now, those 3 did some stuff that the other 30 would not dare do. Right? Those 3 were more heroic. They were known as the 3. God, when the 3 of them get together, madness, trouble for the enemy. But ladies and gentlemen, then there was Benaiah. There was also Benaiah, madman Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, a valiant warrior from Kabzeel. He did many heroic deeds, which included stuff like killing 2 champions of Moab. Another time, on a snowy day, he chased down a lion into a pit and killed him. Madman Benaiah run down a lion and killed him. Somebody say. So David says to Benaiah, I need you to go and kill that lion. That one? No, this is the big one. The one with the big head? The 600-pound one? Yeah, that one. The one, the biggest, find the one. I want you to kill that lion. Benaiah must have said, with all respects due king, why? And maybe King David said, well, because me says so. So Benaiah went out and he fought the lion. The word of God says he wrestled him, went into the pit, wrestled him, and he killed him there. And Benaiah now is coming back to the mighty warriors covered in blood. Not his blood, but Benaiah comes back covered in his enemy's blood, holding the head, the biggest lion head you ever seen in your life. And he's coming covered in blood with the lion's head. And David looks at him and says, Benaiah, that's why I wanted you to go and kill the lion. It is so that you can come back victorious, so that you can come back covered in blood, so that you could come back with the head of a lion. It is so that nobody around you can say nothing to you after that. It's so that from that day on, you will always be known as Benaiah, the lion slayer. It's so that the other 30 and the other 3, they're going to look up to you. So I didn't send you to kill a lion for your destruction. I sent you to kill a lion for your promotion. Verse 22. I didn't read it. But deeds like this made Benaiah as famous as the 3 mightiest warriors. He was more honored than the other members of the 30, though he was not one of the 3, and David made him captain over his secret service bodyguard. So I didn't send you so that the lion could go down. I really actually sent you so that you could go up. I sent you so that I can promote you above all of these other madman them, and they will know that it's because you are the baddest. I sent you not for your destruction, but for your promotion. What David was saying was, your enemy was required. An enemy was necessary. An enemy was needed. Somebody say, an enemy is required. An enemy is required. See, some of us want promotion without a battle. Too many of us want promotion without a fight. Not true. I want you to know that you don't become a hero in a time of peace. Nobody becomes a hero without a fight, without a war, without calamity. Somebody say, an enemy is required. A popular pastor said this. He said, the pressure that you are under is really preparation for the position that you will be over. So what happened is that the last time God sent you to fight an enemy, or you saw the enemy coming, the enemy is blocking you from your goal. The last time you were in that situation, maybe in your marriage, in your finances, right, in relationships, at work. The last time you were in that situation, what happened to you was you diverted to praying to God. And you may have prayed a prayer like this. You may have said, God, I see an enemy. Can you please remove the enemy? Right? I mean, tell the truth. Some of us have faith that our big, strong God can remove enemies. So the last time God called you to fight, you may have prayed and said, God, remove the enemy. Send him to the left or to the right or whatever. Send him to the east and to the west. Send him to the north. And you might have had all of these nice ways of praying. But in the middle of that, God may have been saying, no, it's really me, Sandy. You see, an enemy is required for what I have for you. I'm trying to promote you. I'm trying to elevate you. And an enemy is... That enemy is not sent for your destruction, but rather your promotion. Watch this again. Let's look at it again. Judges chapter 14. Because I need you to understand the God that you are serving. You need to understand your God. Right? Somebody say, why? Here's why. Judges 14 verse 4. This is a story of Samson. Now everybody knows the story of Samson. Samson was born with this anointing. He had power inside of him. Right? As long as him don't cut him hair and don't drink certain things, as long as he keeps his diet a certain kind of way, right, he would house power that was unstoppable. All right? So he had power, but he was also a natural man, and him did love woman, and then him did love this girl. And she wasn't a Christian. She wasn't a Jew. She was a Philistine. Right? So his parents, when he told him about her, they were like, why would he want a Philistine? You know, why wouldn't he just marry one of the Jews who believe in God and all of that? Right? So they were troubled in their spirit. They didn't know what to do. Judges 14 verse 4, it says, but his father and mother, they were vexed and they didn't understand, but they did not know that it was of the Lord. Somebody say it was of the Lord. This thing that was bad was of the Lord. That God was seeking an occasion to move against the Philistines. God was just looking for a chance. God was looking for an excuse. He was seeking an occasion against the Philistines, for at that time the Philistines had dominion over his people, Israel. God never liked that. So to make a long story short, things just went really, really crazy. The parents went, they orchestrated it. A lot of bad things happened, a lot of crazy things happened, and it turned out that the Philistines actually came and killed Samson's woman. Can you imagine? They came, burnt her, killed her and her father. And Samson, when he found out, he was cross. And what Samson did was he went and he got the jawbone of a donkey, right? And took that jawbone and went after every Philistine he could find. Can you imagine? Men, can you imagine some man just come and just kill your to-be wife? Can you imagine somebody coming in and slaughtering her? And he got angry and he went, and I can just see him. The Bible said he killed 1,000 Philistines. And I see him now as he's swinging that jawbone and he's beating them, covered in blood. Every time he kills one of them, he looks up to heaven and said, God, why did you allow this to happen? Why did you allow these men to? Why did you allow them to kill the girl? She did cute, you know. And she could cook, you know. And she did love me, you know. She said I was the only. Why, oh God, did you allow? Covered in blood with the jawbone of the ass. King James. He's covered in blood. His enemy is splattered all over. And God looks down from heaven and says, that's why. Because I wanted you to be covered in Philistine blood. I wanted Philistines to be splattered all over the place. That's why. An enemy was required. You see, what God had to say to Samson is, you see, before that, what you had was this power on the inside that was deactivated. You had this power. Your hair long, you have muscles, you have all this power on the inside, but it wasn't activated. So I sought an occasion for activation. I saw that it would take an enemy, right, to provoke you. It would take that an enemy was required to get you to be activated. So I didn't make this happen for your destruction. I made this happen for your activation. Tell me if it's a lie I'm telling. It's interesting that those of us that know our God and know that God lives in us and know that we have all this power inside of us, we activate that power kind of based on how close the enemy is to us. So some of you in your car, your windows wind up, right? You go into your house, and you hear about all the crime and the violence that's happening outside, somewhere else in your country. And in your mind, you're kind of saying, well, it's happening out there. And because it's not happening here, then I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. Not true, matter. And then all of a sudden, when if the crime and the violence reaches inside your house, somebody you know, somebody you love get robbed, get murdered, somebody that you know gets a visitation from the enemy, all of a sudden you want to be activated. All of a sudden, God is saying an enemy is often required for our activation. Now, I just want to make it clear that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, really, but against what? Principalities and powers and these systems, dark places and so forth, and spiritual forces that are high above, right? So it's not actually the people that we feel the evil coming through, because most of you, there's a face to the evil that's coming, right? Often a face that you know, sometimes a face that you don't know. The evil that's wrought against us is generally coming through a person, but I want you to get the focus off the people and understand that there is a spirit behind that person that is trying to attack you and trying to kill you. Because some of you have up people, and that's the problem. You haven't started fighting the real enemy. You're not seeing the real enemy. So you have show off Sharon, and it's Sharon you don't like, but what you should not like is the show off. You understand what I'm saying? And then you have liar Larry, and you're vexed with Larry, but you should be vexed with deception and lies. Right? You have thief in Tom, and you're vexed with Tom, but it's really the spirit of thieving. Right? You have red eye Renee, and you must stop being vexed with Renee. You should be vexed with red eye and envy. You have bad mind Brenda, and some of you keep harping on Brenda's name when you need to understand who your real enemy is. Listen, I know that it's manifesting through people, but you need to understand that there is a spirit, there is an enemy, and all of those that work with him, the dark spirits that are trying to keep you away from your next promotion and your next elevation. The enemy is trying to keep you from being activated. We need to learn to run towards the enemy. See the enemy. See what he's trying to do. Let me just tell you this, because some of you have it twisted. Your enemies will take you further than your friends will. I'm just saying. Hold on now. You spend the weekend with an enemy, and you'll be elevated a whole lot higher than if you spend the weekend with your friends. Some of you looking friend when you should be looking. I'm just saying, okay, so you spend the weekend with your friends. I want to go country, I want to go hotel, and you're going to eat, and you did all this stuff with your friends. Then you came back and everything was the same or maybe a little bit worse. But rather, if you had spent the weekend fighting an enemy, you may very well come back and find that you have a promotion Monday morning. You defeat the enemy and you come back and realize that you've been elevated. I'm just saying, some of you are looking friend. Some of you are looking for promotion and networking through your friends. And I'm trying to tell you, it's about time for you to put some of your attention to your enemy. Your enemy can take you a whole lot further. It's an enemy you need. It's an enemy that you... Somebody say an enemy is required. Don't get quiet on me and go like... someone say an enemy is necessary. I'm just saying, so for instance, David was just a spoilt errand boy. David was just an errand boy until he met Goliath. And after his destruction, he became a king. One moment with an enemy, right? Moses was just a shepherd up in the mountain, lost, didn't know where he was, didn't have anywhere to go. But a moment with Pharaoh, and he became a nation leader. You understand? Joseph, he went from being a spoiled brat, his father's favorite. Right? Spoil and dreaming. Okay. And he went from the pit to Potiphar's house to prison, and then ended up, where did he end up? As the prime minister of the world. Listen to this. And then his brothers come to him and they're saying, we're sorry for all the bad things we did to you. It is all the bad that we did that made you end up in the pit in the first place. And then we heard about all the other bad stuff that happened to you. And Joseph had the gall, the audacity to look at them and say, you see all that bad that happened to me, all of that bad that you did to me, that bad was really good. Listen, what I'm saying is that sometimes bad is good. To those of you that have faith today, those of you that hear what the Word of God is saying today, if you're bad, if you're brave, if you're bold, say, sometimes bad is. Come on, sometimes say bad is sometimes good. Some of you are run down good. So Jesus is with his disciples. And Jesus says, here's what's going to happen in not so long future. The enemy is going to come for me. Okay? They're going to come, they're going to put me in chains, they're going to lock me up, and they're going to try me, and then they're going to start doing all kinds of things to me. And Peter, he draws out his sword and he says, never will they do that. Right? Never will they. And he starts to back Jesus into the corner and say, if a guy come, I'm going to start chopping off ears and hand and everything. And Jesus looks at him and says, listen to this. How many of you know the story? Get thee behind me, Satan. Because an enemy is necessary. An enemy is required. What are you running from the enemy for? We don't battle against flesh and blood. Put up your sword. Jesus said, I am going to go willingly with my enemy. It's a fight I want. I'm going to go willingly with the enemy because what is bad and what going to look bad is really good. He says, so when I'm gone, you're going to see them whipping me and beating me. They're going to beat me to a pub. They're going to beat me to the place where you might not recognize me. But understand that no matter how bad it looks, it's really good. And that I know it may look like I'm losing, but I'm actually still winning. Says they're going to nail me up to a cross and they're going to juke me. Right? They're going to be mocking me. They're going to be trying. And they're going to lift me up on this cross. And I know it's going to look bad, but it is really. And I know it's going to look like I'm losing, but while I'm on that cross, I'm actually going to be winning. And he says to John, John, write this down. And John take out him pen and him paper. And he says, John, listen to this. He says, if I be lifted up, when I am lifted up, then I will draw all men unto me. And it says, this he said, signifying the kind of death that he was going to die. In other words, they are going to kill me, but in killing me, they're going to be lifting me up. He said, and it is in that moment when I'm lifted up on that cross that I will have victory. So an enemy is required. And it's not meant for my destruction, it's meant for my glorification. So as they're hoisting me, as them are heist me, to embarrass me, to mock me, what they're actually doing is glorifying me, elevating me, and promoting me. I'm trying to tell you that your friends can't do that. Somebody say an enemy is needed. He says, so as I'm on that cross, and it's going to look like I'm finished, it actually really is just the beginning. I don't know, as I'm on that cross, it's going to look like the end, but it is actually really the start. So the devil is going to think that I am done, but me just a come. So what I'm saying today as I close is that the trials and tribulations, the challenges, the enemy that is coming towards you is not for your destruction, but for your elevation. You have to stand and fight. It will not be the end of a thing, but rather it will be the beginning of a thing. Some of you need to have that disposition, because some of you, when you see the enemy coming, you are in fear rather than in faith. You are sad rather than glad. Like if you don't know. Well, today I'm answering the question why, so that you can sift from fear to faith, so that you can understand that something powerful is about to happen whenever you see an enemy. I wonder how many of you have enemies in here today. I wonder how many of you have enemies in here today that would say, if you don't think me done, me just a come. Because Jesus says it like this, and I'll end with this. He says, and an enemy is required. As a matter of fact, an enemy is welcomed. An enemy is celebrated. Matthew 5:11, he says, blessed are you when they revile you, and when they persecute you, and when them come and tell all kind of lies upon you. That is when you are blessed. See, some of you, when the enemy is coming, you're like, oh God, the enemy coming, and you cower, and you go into a faithless faith. I don't know if that's a fearful faith, where you go into fear. And he said, but God is saying, no, when they come against you, that is when you are blessed. The Bible, it says, blessed are you when the people then revile you, when they persecute you, and when they say all kind of lies against you. Who is he calling blessed? He's calling the persecuted blessed, right? The lied upon blessed, right? Those that are being beat up by the enemy. So blessing is not just when you get a new pair of shoes, ladies. Blessing is not when you get a new pair of, a new handbag. Right? Blessing is not just when you get a new car. Jesus is redefining blessing for you. He's saying there's a whole other level, there's a whole other place of blessing. Right? This is being blessed because you know that you are about to be elevated. Being happy because you know that you're about to be promoted. In the midst of your enemies. He says, I'm going to make your enemies your footstool. Right? And what that means is that every fight you fight, every enemy you come upon, when after you have victory, is a step that you can step up on. Step up to a new level. And I'm telling you that on that new level, you are going to be seeing things you could not see before when you were down here. At that new level, you are going to be able to reach out and grab a hold of things you couldn't grab when you were on that lower level. You're going to be touching things you couldn't have touched if it wasn't for the enemy. You are going to be moving things that you could not have moved when you were at that lower level. Somebody say, I'm chasing his glory. I'm being transformed from glory to glory.
Thank you so much for watching us here, Go for God Family Church on YouTube. Why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button to ensure that you get all of what is new from Go for God Family Church, and to ensure that you don't miss anything.